Thanks everyone for joining. It's a pleasure to have you all here for a webinar for validation mapping. Just want to make a quick introduction to people who will be on our side here at DataTrue. So you have, of course, myself, JP Chung, I'm the head of sales here at DataTrue. Running the demo will actually be Kara McClure, our solutions consultant.
Hi, everyone.
And then behind the scenes, we have Casey Bain, our head of marketing, who will be on the back end taking care of any questions. So by the way, if you have any questions along the way, please submit them through, and then we'll make sure we can answer them if possible. If at the worst, we will take them offline and get back to you after the webinar.
Hi, everyone. Great to meet you.
So just before we run into, well, validation mapping, I want to do a quick run through as to what DataTrue is, because I think there's some that may not fully understand what DataTrue is. So I guess the very basic question here really would be, what is DataTrue? And really what it comes down to is we really identify ourselves as that digital data governance solution. And we're actually specifically built by digital consultants for digital marketeers in particular. And so sure, that sounds great, but what does that mean for you in particular? Well, essentially what it means is that we're here to help you actually spend less time on manually testing your tags, data layers, but not just those, but also your other marketing technologies in particular. So we've actually built this with one mantra in mind. And I mean, I think this is going to be really resonating to everyone, but it's no errors in production, which I think is the goal for majority of the digital marketers we speak to on a regular basis here. But if we look at some common use cases, we're looking at stuff like the automated ability to do regression testing. So you might ask yourself some questions like, how do I actually ensure that there's no errors being introduced when I'm making changes, or if there are going to be any errors even during migrations? And is there a way to test my tagging structure against my SDR? And then from a tag auditing perspective, you might ask very simple questions like, are my tags present? Are they actually firing properly? Or where are they actually coming from? And here's another one actually. Do you have any rogue or third-party tags on your website that you weren't expecting at all? Then from a data governance side, which is slowly going to help us segue here into validation mapping, is the data governance side of things. So a few more questions you might ask yourself are, can you validate your data layers actually present? And can you even go beyond not just your top level properties, but also your nested properties within them as well? And is your website maybe leaking some sensitive data for GDPR, CCPA, or any other data privacy regulations? And then a very important one here actually is, are your key conversion events actually being captured? But not just that, alongside being captured, are they actually correct to your expectations? And so this is really where validation mapping comes in. So what is it? Well, at the end of the day, if I simplify this down, I'm going to take a quick step back to help explain what it is. But essentially, we have something called a coverage test, which is a site-wide tag audit. And it has two main focuses, which are, well, are the tags actually present, and where are they firing from? So this is great, but we also realize that there is one particular issue with this, and there's just not enough of a focus on variables and events. And so validation mapping is actually that feature gives you a more granular view into variables and events rather than just a very standard tag audit. And one of the biggest questions we typically hear now is, well, when can you actually use this? So I kind of talked about this earlier, but it's when you need to have a more granular look at your variables and events. But you might now be wondering, hey, are my events and my variables actually being captured correct to your expectations? And what happens if I want to run a more specific, maybe URL-based site-wide tag audit on maybe 10 URLs rather than the 500 pages that I have on my website? So these are probably the core areas where you want to use it. But rather than me talking on here, I'm actually going to pass this over to Kara so you can actually understand how you set up validation mapping in DataTrue.
Great, thanks, JP. So as JP mentioned, validation maps allow you to perform regression testing at a granular level, and the secondary use case is to crawl specific URLs. So today I'm going to show you how to download a variable report from a Google Analytics tag on a website and then upload this into the validation map feature. So DataTrue can be used to discover what tags are on your site, and in particular how a tag such as Google Analytics in this case is implemented onto your site. So to do this, we use a coverage test, DataTrue crawls a site starting from the URL that you specify on the test. So the first step to create a validation map is to create a coverage test and add a tag validation. So in this case, I've already created the coverage test and I've added the Google Analytics tag. So I'm just going to drop into the test here. The test has already run. So once the test has run, then you have the ability to pull the variables report. So you're going to do that by clicking on the All Tags tab. I'm just going to scroll down to find the tag that you want to pull the report for, and it's the Google Analytics tag here. So click on the Variables button. From there, you can click on the Download button. And a CSV file will open, which will just show you. I've already got it open here. So the top left side of the page is the page URL, and then all the URLs that the scan visited are listed, and across the top are all the variable names. And you can see here that it's quite a big document. This allows you to edit and update the file and then import it back into DataTrue. I'm just going to show you what a cleaned up version of this file looks like. And this is the one that I'm going to use to create the validation map. So we'll just drop back to the user interface here. And we'll go back to the main menu. So we'll create the validation map. So the CSV file is used to create the validation map. And we'll just do that now by adding a validation map and giving it a name. The validation type is tag. Currently in the beta feature, only the tag type is available, but when this feature is released, that you'll be able to choose a data layer as well. So we'll select that and we'll choose our file, which is right here. Then we'll just click Save. You can see there that all 9 rows have been imported, so you know that's successful. So we'll just drop back to the coverage test here. Drop into the coverage test. And in order to use the validation maps feature, at the moment, it's only available in our classic UI. So you're going to have to click on the Switch to Classic UI button at the top here. Just going to scroll down and we're going to link this test to that validation map that we just created. So you'll do that by clicking on the 3 gray dots on the side here, clicking Edit. And then scrolling down to the page list here and then looking for that validation map that we just created. And then click Save. Then we're going to do the same thing to connect the Google Analytics tag to the validation map as well. You're going to scroll down on this page, it says validation map. So you're going to click the baselines validation map that we just created and connect that there. The validation map allows you to validate the solution design across page views over your entire site. So we're going to go back to the test here. Then we're going to click Run. Now, instead of waiting for this to run, I'm just going to drop over to this other tab where I've already run the test and I have some results to show you. So I'm just going to click on the Results tab here and open up the first step. And you can see at the top here, all of the tags that were detected on this scan are listed here. And we can click on any of the pages that were visited, like this. And you can see the values on the left-hand side of the screen are the expected values from that cleaned up CSV file that I uploaded. So those are the validation map values I'm expecting to see. And this is what was actually requested on the site. You can see that in this case, this page, everything matches here. So that's great. But if we do scroll down here, you can see that there is a red X here indicating that there is something that's not matching your file that you uploaded. And you can see in this case, it's the GTM ID. And then this gives you insight to go back and make some changes to your variable report. I also will note that the values in the file can be replaced with a regular expression to test for the format of values rather than exact values. You can see that the validation maps beta feature is a powerful tool to validate that your variables are set correctly and to ensure errors are corrected before the data is pushed through to the production environment. This feature can enable you to comply with your data governance strategy. And that concludes this part of the demonstration.
So I'm just going to quickly jump in here. We call it validation mapping, but really at the end of the day, it's essentially page level analytics. And the cool thing about this is now, because it's in green and red, it's very easy for you as a digital marketer or maybe even analyst to quickly build a remediation plan based on the reds that you're seeing across multiple URLs in a very quick fashion. So with that said, I wanted to actually just segue into, well, some questions and answers here. So looking here, it looks as though we've actually got 2 questions that have come in. One of them here is actually very high level around how do you kind of sell this idea over to the C-suite that this is an important feature? Well, I think what it comes down to, just from a sales perspective, is really that data is the new currency of pretty much any business these days. Almost every business is moving towards a data-driven model, and it's now the foundation of how you innovate yourself. And so you want to make sure that you're actually making decisions on correct and complete data rather than incorrect data. I can even share a short story at some point, but I'll quickly mention it here. Actually, there's a Razor organization that actually sent out a welcome to manhood package, and because they had incorrect data, they actually sent it out to young kids, women, and some grandpas as well. And the funny thing is, if you actually look it up on some tweets, you can see some people saying, I am 70-something years old, but I'm glad to know that I'm a man now. So it's funny things like that can kind of come up. And then the second question is, how do I start this? I think it kind of goes back to the demo that we showed a little bit earlier here, but first thing you want to do, I should say, is actually build that baseline, which is going to be the coverage test and the export that Kara showed in the demonstration earlier. By having that baseline, it now allows you to have an expected result and knowing what you're looking for. And then once you run that test again, allow DataTrue to do the comparison for you, it'll give you a very high level and fast way to see what the errors are, allowing you, again, like I mentioned earlier, to actually build a proper remediation plan. Are there any more questions that have come up? I don't see anything else that's come through yet, but. Well, I'm sure there will be someone that comes through after you've had a chance to digest this a little bit more. So if you have any general questions, please feel free to email me. My details are right there. If you have any particularly technical questions, you're welcome to email support@datatrue.com. Thank you everyone for your time on this webinar today. It was great having you here. Everyone will get a copy of this as well after. So again, thank you for your time. If you have any questions, all the details are here. So looking forward to hearing from you.